I watched the evolution of both these guys. This didn't happen overnight. In 2022, before he owned Twitter, Elon tweeted this chart depicting how he felt about the liberal side having shifted so much that it left a basically liberal centrist like him now labeled a conservative. I related to the kind of mean girl you get from the cool kids in Wokeville when you're perceived that way. They tried real hard to cancel Rogan a few years ago. And when Elon hosted Saturday Night Live in 2021, well before he was a Trumper, some of the cast members gave him the cold shoulder for the sin of being rich.
Bill Maher just delivered a political bombshell, and this time, he wasn't looking for laughs. On a no-holds-barred episode of Real Time, Maher launched into a blistering monologue targeting the far left, accusing progressives of losing their grip on reality. The speech was intense enough to feel like a final act, with Maher even suggesting this could be his swan song. While some may dismiss it as fuel for the perpetually outraged, longtime viewers likely saw this coming. Maher has been inching toward this moment for years, like a predator circling its prey. Before we unpack the fallout, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next explosive take. Let's dive in.
Want to win my vote? Don't give me the ick. You know what the ick is, right? It's a term mostly used in the dating world to describe that moment when one of the people, usually the man, does something so icky that the woman cannot forgive it or forget it. Like sending a pic or being mean to the waitress, paying for dinner with a coupon, getting his mother to call you when you dump him, asking for in baby voice. Once you give her the ick, it's a wrap.
So, what finally pushed Bill Maher to the edge? Here's the unfiltered breakdown. The left has drifted so far off course, it's like they're spinning in circles in a political clown car. Maher's been sounding the alarm for years, warning Democrats that they're racing toward a cliff, and they chose to ignore him. But this time, it wasn't just about fringe ideologies. It was about indoctrinating kids to despise their own country while glorifying regimes that would happily see it destroyed. That's not progressivism, it's outright insanity. And for Maher, this was the breaking point. He let loose with a classic, bare-knuckled rant that didn't hold back. He emptied the clip, and frankly, it needed to happen.
People who are getting the big crowds right now are AOC and Bernie Sanders. They're going around the country. Thank you, there's that same guy. I call him the always wrong guy. Okay, but I feel like, big crowds, again, the shiny object that the Democrats chase. It's not about the big crowds that come out to you when you're talking in a festival or wherever they are. I think it's because I think Bernie showed up at Coachella. That must have been fun for the fans. It's who shows up on Election Day. And I just don't see that's the ticket. I mean, Cory Booker, I know you've worked with him. I like Cory a lot from my home state of New Jersey. Made a speech for 25 hours. Again, just whacking each other off. This is just not what's going to get the job done.
You could practically see the steam rising from Maher's forehead as he tore into party icons like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, blaming them for the erosion of patriotism among young Democrats. The irony? Sanders and AOC continue to walk straight into his critique, less focused on building up the nation, more on stoking outrage and pandering to the loudest radicals in the room. Maher's voice cracked with fury as he condemned Democratic leadership for abandoning core American values in favor of TikTok clout and applause from the activist echo chamber. This wasn't just a rant, it was a eulogy for the party he once proudly defended. He scorched them for turning their backs on unity, resilience, and reason, the DNA of the American spirit. Instead of raising a generation to love and uplift their country, they're cultivating cynics taught to loathe it. For Maher, this betrayal wasn't just infuriating, it was the final straw. He's not just angry. He's finished.
Democrats have become like a royal family that, because of so much, has unfortunately had children who are and the same thing can happen to ideas if they are also conceived in an atmosphere of intellectual interest. Maybe take the clothespins off your noses and actually converse with the other half of the country. Stop screaming at people to get with the program and instead make a program worth getting with.
You can feel Maher's fury boiling over with every word, as he scorches the very party he once championed. He accuses the Democrats of retreating into a smug, insufferably woke bubble, utterly detached from the real struggles of everyday Americans. Their shiny new ideals, he argues, are just reheated fantasies, ideological leftovers wrapped in trendy language, with zero relevance to kitchen table concerns. Exhibit A, AOC's so-called economic revolution. Maher dismisses it as Socialism 2.0, a reboot of an early 20th century failure that has crashed and burned every time it's been tried. Her sweeping declarations, he says, are either laughably exaggerated, dangerously naive, or flat-out unworkable. And yet, astonishingly, the Democratic machine is barreling ahead, elevating her as the party's rising star for 2028. Maher isn't buying it. To him, this isn't a movement, it's cosplay politics dressed up as revolution. He's stunned that a party once grounded in working-class grit is now hooked on viral applause and utopian fantasies. For Maher, that disconnect wasn't just disappointing, it was the final straw. He's out.
It's never too early to strategize. Democrats have been having a lot of donor retreats lately where liberal strategists hold ideathons, where they try to figure out why they keep losing elections. You know, apart from using words like ideathon. And now one idea that's getting a lot of attention is the Dems need to find their Joe Rogan, a liberal Joe Rogan, because that's why Kamala lost. Republicans have a podcast.
That was one of the Democrats' big strategies, and to be fair, it wasn't the worst idea on paper. Heading into the 2024 election, the party had all but incinerated any goodwill it once had with neutral media outlets and independent voices. Their obsession with ideological purity and rigid party orthodoxy alienated anyone who didn't toe the exact line. And when those previously neutral commentators dared to offer criticism, the response wasn't debate, it was cancel culture, public shaming, and full-blown digital witch hunts. Unsurprisingly, the backlash came fast. But most of the disillusion didn't run to Trump out of devotion, they were pushed out of frustration. Take Joe Rogan, a longtime centrist with a massive platform who ultimately urged his audience to vote Republican. That kind of pivot doesn't happen in a vacuum, it's provoked. It was the inevitable result of a party more focused on silencing dissent than engaging it. Now, Democrats are scrambling, hats in hand, trying to win back the very voices they once vilified. But here's the hard truth, you can't cancel someone on Monday and expect their vote on Tuesday.
I don't think his mind is completely inflexible. His neck, yes. But not his mind. And he's expressed unease with some things Trump is doing, as has a certain disgruntled former employee named Elon Musk, who, like Joe, is another guy who 5 years ago was thought of as a liberal, but got driven into the other camp by bad attitudes and bad ideas, a reversal I completely understand, although I would never emulate. I also see the woke mind virus. I just don't jump from frying pans into fires.
Like it or not, more and more people are drifting toward the MAGA movement, and whether he's ready to say it out loud or not, Bill Maher seems to be inching in that direction too. Sure, he recently insisted in a clip that he's not making the leap. But let's be honest, that's exactly what Elon Musk said at first. Same with Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, even Joe Rogan. They all denied any rightward shift, until the Democratic Party's hard-left tailspin made the decision for them. Maher may not be wearing a red cap just yet, but if you listen closely, the tone, the grievances, the worldview, it's all starting to rhyme. He's over the performative virtue signaling, fed up with censorship theater, and increasingly baffled by how quickly his former party abandoned basic, boots-on-the-ground common sense. At some point, when your values no longer align with your party's direction, the break isn't a question of if, it's when. Maher may claim he's staying put, but every monologue sounds more like a farewell letter. The Democrats, once champions of working-class grit and liberal ideals, have become a walking contradiction, loud, proud, and tone-deaf. They rail against the wealthy while courting billionaire donors. Preach racial justice but sideline dissenting voices like Rashida Tlaib in key moments. They claim to fight for the working class, yet back candidates who've never punched a time card, or even convincingly faked empathy for those who have. And let's be real, this self-proclaimed party of intellect handed the mic to a man who struggles to deliver a sentence without a teleprompter and divine intervention. It's hypocrisy on stilts, wrapped in delusion, served with a side of smug. So why wouldn't someone like Bill Maher start looking for the exits? When your party trades reality for ideology, mocks its base, and swaps substance for symbolism, even the loyalists begin to question their allegiance. And Maher? He's already got one foot out the door, and the other tapping impatiently.
When you do this to them,
That it's not going to have blowback? Now me, again, you don't have to win me back because I never left. But all the guys in America like Joe and Elon, yeah, you do have to win them back. The good news is you can. Elon has gone from saying, I love Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another man.
What more proof do you need that Maher's packing up and heading for the exit? He's practically begging in plain English, don't give me the ick if you still want my vote. And no, that's not a punchline, it's a last call. One he's repeated like a broken record, but this time, you can hear it in his voice. The weariness. The bite behind every sarcastic jab. The sting in each criticism. And most telling of all, the complete absence of patience. Maher's not just annoyed anymore, he's exhausted. Burned out from trying to play referee in a party too busy shouting over itself to hear anything at all. Tired of pretending the far left hasn't seized the wheel and steered the whole bus off a cliff. And at this point, he's not offering advice. He's issuing a post-mortem. He's not asking Democrats to change. He's telling them, with unfiltered clarity, why he's already walking away.
Scion of the most storied dynasty in Democratic Party history, dropped out of the presidential race and threw his support not to the Democrat, but to Trump. And everyone all at once said the same thing. Bobby Kennedy did something weird?
With example after example piling up, Maher's frustration is now unmistakable, loud, clear, and relentless. At this point, it's getting harder to pretend he's not already halfway out the door. This isn't vague grumbling or a few offhand jabs. It's a slow-motion exit playing out in broad daylight. And here's the kicker, while it might seem like the left is inching back toward the center, don't buy the illusion. That comforting mirage disappears the moment the party starts flirting with figures like Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or Gavin Newsom as their 2028 frontrunners. These icons of woke politics risk dragging the party straight back into the ideological abyss, complete with cancel culture, socialist pipe dreams, and rhetoric that alienates more than it inspires. If Democrats fall into that trap again, they won't just lose voices like Maher, they'll hemorrhage middle-class voters, drive off independents, and wave goodbye to key swing states. Elevating those figures isn't progress. It's political cliff diving. And if they take that leap, they might as well hand the White House to the GOP, no recounts, no suspense. At its core, Maher's anger isn't just personal, it's symptomatic of a broader awakening. Lifelong liberals like him are watching their party trade principles for platitudes, substance for hashtags. And while he's not about to show up at a Trump rally, his message is no longer a plea, it's a siren. A warning shot across the bow. If Democrats keep doubling down on radicalism, if they continue elevating figures like AOC, Bernie, or Newsom, they're not just testing Maher's loyalty. They're torching their own path back to power. America isn't begging for another revolution. It's begging for sanity. And unless the left course corrects fast, Maher's voice won't be the outlier, it'll be the first of many heading for the exit. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe and press the notification bell for more updates.